Today on the podcast, I'm getting back to my doctorate roots to talk about some of the physiology behind how we get stronger. If you have interest, you want to learn how we get stronger while we do CrossFit, this podcast is for you. Stick around.
Welcome to the CrossFit Edwardsville Community Podcast, where we hear and learn from our coaches, CrossFitters, and Glen Ed community leaders. Now, here are your hosts, Dallas and Greg.
What is up, party people? It is Coach G here, and this is the CrossFit Edwardsville Community Podcast, where we meet and learn from our CFE coaches, meet and learn about our CFE CrossFitters, and occasionally talk to Glen Ed business leaders. I'm one of your co-hosts, Coach G. My co-host Dallas is out on a boat today, enjoying the amazing summer weather, but it's okay because today I'm going to go full monologue and full nerd out and talking about how we get stronger here at CrossFit Edwardsville. And like that term, getting stronger, is one of the things that we hear the most from people that come to our gym, and you ask them, what do you want to achieve here? One of the things we hear the most often is, well, I want to get stronger. And I think it's really important that I clarify that we know through experiment, through time, and through having thousands and thousands and thousands of conversations with aspiring CrossFitters and current CrossFitters, that getting stronger, that term means different things to different people. For some people, getting stronger means adding more muscle to their frame. For others, getting stronger means they can lift more weights in the gym. For others, it means I don't get tired doing the stuff that I want to do in my everyday life, or at least I don't get tired as quickly. But for the purposes of this podcast, we're actually going to hang out with the Get Stronger definition from CrossFit. I've talked about this in the podcast before. In CrossFit, we have 10 domains of fitness, strength being one of them. And CrossFit defines strength as the ability of a muscular unit or a combination of muscular units to apply force. So your actual ability to force, output, to move, affect change in objects around you, that's the strength we're talking about here. Not so much about the hypertrophy, the adding muscle to the frame. Now that said, what we are talking about is how do strength increases happen? Physiologically, how do strength increases happen? And for the purpose of the conversation, I'm going to simplify it into two phases of you as an athlete. The majority of what I talk about here today, how do you get stronger, we'll be hanging out with phase one. But to kind of fast forward into phase two, like over time, as you train, as you eat in a healthy, purposeful, intentional way, you do add muscle to your frame. Over time, you can build more muscle, more lean tissue, more lean muscle mass on your frame, on your axial skeleton. And those increases, those hypertrophic increases in your muscle mass do enable your body to have an increased strength capacity. With more muscle, you can be stronger. That is true. I think we all know that and appreciate that mass moves mass. But I think that the more interesting conversation to have is what happens the first few months that you begin a strength program, CrossFit or otherwise, right? Because the changes in strength that you see in your first few months of doing a strength program or a strength and conditioning program like CrossFit are not because of increased muscle. That increased muscle on your frame, that happens later. That takes time. That's months of work, consistent work to add actual lean muscle tissue to your body. Your body needs time to plant the seeds and then successfully farm that muscle. But in the early phases of your program, the strength increases that you see, and you do quickly. Like we know this, that newbie CrossFitters, they have this like incredible trajectory line where they go to where they squat more, they press more, they deadlift more, they move their body more easily because they're working on those things regularly. And that's really an exciting time to be a CrossFitter. Those first few months when you're new and everything is exciting and fresh and different. It's very cool how you actually do manifest more strength gains. But the point I want to talk about here today is how that happens physiologically, right? And the early changes, those first few months, are primarily due not to hypertrophy, but due to neural or nervous system adaptations in your body. Now, it's interesting that studies performed related to these neural changes, one of them actually noted a 30% increase in untrained clients, meaning people that are new to a training program. They see up to a 30% increase in their strength in the first couple of months, even if there's no actual increase in fiber muscle size or hypertrophy, to my physiology nerds out there. So it's definitely happening, right? And it's real. You are actually stronger as we defined it earlier. But why is that happening? So there's a handful of different thought processes behind this. A big one is increased motor unit activation. Like your motor nerve cells, the neurons in the spinal cord, they control areas of your body. And when you start doing a movement more often, maybe you're squatting more often, maybe you're pressing more often, maybe you're doing pull-ups or related exercises more often, what you're doing is you're now giving your body the signal to use those motor neurons, those patterns, the neurological patterns, the connections of your spine, your nervous system into the tissues that actually move things. And so what happens is you get stronger because your body begins to increase the frequency firing of motor neurons. You're actually using the motor neurons that you have more often, and your body develops an efficiency to that, an efficiency where now, like sort of the idea, if you don't use it, you lose it. The opposite is true also. If you are using the deadlift pattern more often, or if you're using the push-up pattern more often, your body then, the motor neurons and motor units that actually do that movement become awakened, become more efficient. The signals that fire along those pathways in the body become more effective, and your body gets better and better at recruiting those motor neurons to do that task. So on a neurological level, you become more efficient. Interestingly, there's also data on what we call neural cross education. Interesting stuff that you can actually get stronger, for example, in your right arm if you are training only your left arm. We call it neural cross education. It's interesting. A 1979 study discussed how the bicep force production in the one side, the side that was trained, increased by 36%. But the other arm that was untrained, that did nothing different, strength increase or force production on that other side also increased by 25%, which is, this lends some validity to the idea of doing unilateral training. I do single arm presses with my right arm, I do lunges with my left leg. You actually strengthen both sides, even if you're working one side. Hopefully this is really encouraging for people. Maybe you're dealing with an injury, maybe you went on a run, a trail run, you twisted your ankle, your right leg can't train, at least in the short term, as that heals. If you train your left side, it can actually help that right side, at the very least, to lose less progress, and in the best case scenario, increase its strength. So hopefully that's really encouraging stuff for you guys as well. But the idea, though, of us increasing our neurological efficiency is a big explanatory factor for what happens in the early months that lets us actually get stronger. How does that happen if we're not yet living in a body that has more muscle mass, right? So, and two, one of the things about CrossFit specifically that can really drive this is that your ability to recruit the motor neurons that do a thing is at least partly a function of how many repetitions you do of that thing. So, case in point, Rafael Nadal is a tennis player, and like many tennis players, he actually has a muscular asymmetry. His serving side, his tennis racket side is actually bigger than his other side because he uses that side so much more, and he's built more mass on that side. Well, he has the that unilateral training also helps the other side, as I mentioned earlier, but it's the fact that he has so many repetitions on his dominant side that side has become stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And the same is true for us. So for example, one of the things with CrossFit is we train a higher volume of reps than many training programs do. So today's workout at our gym, for example, was, well, we did some heavy squats, back squats from the rack first. Then we did a conditioning workout that was 4 rounds of 20 air squats and then some other things as well. But in total, anybody doing this workout in our gym today is going to accumulate probably well over 100 reps from what warm up to the early sets, build up to the 80% of max that was our working weight, to the repeated sets of 4 we did, and then the 80 reps, the 4 rounds of 20 that was in the conditioning workout. Like, let's say the average CrossFitter in our gym gets a grand total of 120 squats in this one session, right? That repetition of the movement is one of the things that can drive the body to create more neurological efficiency faster. It's a CrossFit specific quality of us doing higher volume on stuff. We also do lower volume, but we have both, right? Like, we're not just powerlifting for low reps. We're also doing lightweight, high reps. And the aggregate of the program is we do a lot of reps of pull-ups, some strict, some kipping, a lot of reps of push-ups, a lot of reps of lifting from the floor in the form of deadlifts or cleans or snatches, a lot of downward pulling motions, pull-ups, chin-ups, muscle-ups, rope climbs. We're exposing our body to certain motor patterns over and over and over and over and over again that in CrossFit context specifically allows us to harness and achieve neurological efficiency a lot faster than a lot of other programs where maybe you're only back squatting or you're only squatting once a week, if that, and it's low reps, high weight, and nothing more. So you can achieve a neurological efficiency faster doing CrossFit than your average strength program where, hey, I do all my bicep work on Mondays, or I do all my leg work on Tuesdays, or whatever it is. And the whole rest of the week, I don't use those motor patterns whatsoever, right? Your segmented training program leads to segmented fitness, and I would contend a less adept body, a less trained, less competent physiology for tackling the many challenges of life, which is really like what being strong is really all about. And that's the real value of strong, is how can you take strong and apply it to your everyday life, whatever that looks like for you, right? Maybe it's I can pick up my kid and I can carry them easily while also managing my groceries in the other arm and the key to my door in that same arm. Maybe for you, it's I have a physically rigorous job where I have to, lift boxes and move heavy things. I want that job to be easier, and strong for me is being able to do that stuff more easily. Maybe strong for you is I go to the theme park with my kids and my grandkids, and I don't get tired in the first 15 minutes of walking. Whatever it is for you. And, obviously, too, getting stronger as I mentioned at the start of this podcast, a key priority for a huge proportion of people that come to us here at CrossFit. Ultimately, getting stronger does mean adding lean muscle tissue to your frame, hypertrophy, having lean, defined, toned muscle. If that's why you're here, CrossFit will help you to get there as well. I use myself as a testimonial. I actually started my fitness journey doing the bodybuilding magazines where I go into the gym, I do a bunch of curls, bunch of tricep extensions, skull crushers, and I definitely gained muscle. I definitely gained strength doing that. I was coming from it like the studies I referenced earlier. I was the untrained individual. I had no background in exercise whatsoever. But doing those things on a regular basis allowed me to get stronger. But CrossFit exposing me to those things more and allowing me to do those things at a higher level allowed me to develop more strength, both in terms of my force output and in terms of my actual muscular development. All of that happened more with CrossFit because my contention here is that CrossFit is actually a better program overall for generating strong humans, both physiologically, whether it be neurological or hypertrophic. And the 11th element, the last aspect, developing a strong mind. There is no way of escaping it. Like, CrossFit workouts are very challenging, and the people that do them become mentally stronger. They become people who can voluntarily face down adversity and overcome it, who can go through very challenging things in their jobs, in their relationships, as well as in the gym. They are mentally tougher people. They handle stress better. They handle adversity and difficulty better. They clear hurdles better. They're just all around better humans. There's a quote that I love, two of them actually. One is that being strong is never a weakness. Being stronger is never going to hold you back in life. And the second quote from Mark Rippetoe, maybe my favorite quote of all time: strong people are harder to kill and more useful in general. I love that quote. And with that, I want to wish all of our listeners here an amazing, beautiful, and blessed rest of their day. Go out there, live your best life, come join us at CrossFit, and be strong. Till next time.